Hello, guten Tag, und grüß Gott. So this is, I believe, my eighth video on my spiritual journey. And I left you last time with the events that happened with the demise of Kaiser Steel and my job, and how it kind of dispersed our group, and we all had to make a living. And so our weekly confab, so to speak, came to an end. And with that, my apprenticeship in sorcery and the stuff that they were talking about pretty much came to an end as well. So, how did it affect me? In the following time, uh, did it make any difference in my life one way or the other? Did I change my beliefs? And what is it exactly that I did believe? I I can't tell you that my spiritual journey is over, um, and I think it's still going on. Uh, and what you know, those years that I spent with these guys in our little group, were they a waste of time? Well, one could say yes, but a good time was had, and I think it gave me a deeper understanding of what I should be looking for. What I should be looking for. And that's kind of a dangerous statement to say, because how do we know what we should be looking for? But I tell you what came out of the consequence of all those meetings is that I began to doubt just about everything that I thought I was reasonably sure of. In other words, I've come to the point, even today, that when I think that I'm certain of something, I get immediately suspicious. Now, the Bible talks about this kind of thing, in terms of, the doubting Thomas, and Jesus said, put your hands in my wound, and now you know. Well, uh, I don't know how you can actually know, and it's a tough process, but it's interesting, because it gives you perspective. And sometimes, when you have doubts about what you're certain, you uncover all kinds of other things that may actually astound you, you know. And I'm going to give some examples of that in the future, because I will probably put this broadcast of my spiritual journey, maybe I'll put it on hold, but I know it needs some revision. But let me just kind of wrap up a little bit, about what's happened with me. Is so uh, It turned out that we just kind of lost contact with each other, except that I remained in contact with Brother Joe. And Brother Joe, Cal's Brother Joe, um, ultimately left Arizona and moved to Wyoming. And there he lived with his son. And his son found himself something to do that was really fascinating. And that is, he became a baker. And so, in the city that he lives, he became the go-to guy for, basically French bread, that kind of thing. And he's damn good at it. He's got lots of customers, commercial customers. And so he established himself as a baker. And so Joe, when he became too sickly, to work. Basically moved in with him, and his son took care of him. So, so that's what happened to Joe. And then, but I remained in contact with him, and he told me what happened to Cal. So what happened to Cal is he and his wife Mildred, they moved to Utah because Fontana, California, just no longer suited them. Now, the reason they moved to Utah is because one of their sons, Cal and Mildred had two sons, one of their sons moved to Utah and got into the beekeeping business. In other words, he worked for somebody who became, a beekeeper and, produced honey and also provided beehives, for where pollination was required. All of those things, that beekeepers can do to make a living. And so he established himself in Utah, and Cal moved into this area. He had some money left. He bought a house, and then lived on his pension. And so then I, in time, actually came in contact with Cal again. And that was years after, probably a good decade after the demise of Kaiser Steel. So anyway, since we had a place up in the state of Washington, I often would drive, between Southern California and Washington, and I would stop at Cal's. And we start talking again. And Cal was just as lucid as he ever was. Although he started to become infirm, he was 10 years older than I. And that would have, would have made him 95 now. However, he did pass away about 5 years ago. So he made it really close to 90, from what I could tell. And anyway, but I started to take videos, and I actually started my relationship up with Cal, and it was pretty much the same thing. We were talking about Jesus. We were talking about Kabbalists. We were talking about physics and particle physics, and spooky action at a distance, and the things that happened on a microscopic level. In any case, somewhere I do have some videos of this, and I should take them out and put them together, maybe in a video that I can release on YouTube now. But anyway, this was before the iPhone. This is much easier with the iPhone now. So, yeah, as a matter of fact, I continued my education, and I considered Cal pretty much my mentor. I continued my education by, writing a newsletter for him, because he had some friends, and he kind of liked my writing, and so I produced several newsletters, that I sent out that I sent to Cal, and then he distributed them to the people that. And basically expounding his ideas, on life, the universe, and everything else. to quote someone famous. But anyway, so I continued to stay in touch with this. Unfortunately, I told you that Ed the barber, moved to I think Paso Robles or someplace like this, and we found out that he died of cancer, couldn't quit smoking. So there was basically brother Joe, and brother Cal. Joe lived in Wyoming and Cal in Utah, and every once in a while I was able to get them together, and they were to talk about things. It was always fun. So what I would do is stop at Cal's, spend the night, and then in the morning take off again. And that went on for several years like this. So, so I actually began to think, maybe I ought to write a book on that entire business of the mythical, um, or who knows what. So I decided to start writing a book, and I called it the Dark Face of God, and so I produced a manuscript and I gave it to a really interesting guy for comments. He was actually a ghostwriter for the a daily commentator or horoscope writer or something like this for the newspaper. And I'm trying to remember her name, and maybe you can recall it, but she was very famous. Anyway, this guy wrote a lot of her stuff, and they're tough. So anyway, I gave it to him, and because I was so proud of it, it's the manuscript, and he looked at it and he commented on it, and I haven't written anything since. Anyway, so I thought I was going to be that great writer, and write the most informative novel about the effects of God on humanity and humanity effects on God, that kind of thing. And maybe I need to dig this out again. But anyway, I didn't do much with it. Obviously, writing is far more complicated than I had even imagined. Even though I always thought I was a great writer, because I had to write reports, all my life in my working career, and they were always well received, sometimes not because of the subject, but never because of the writing. The writing was always good, even though I write with a German accent, but hey, Anyway, so I so I think I kind of like to wrap this up. This particular subject, I'm on of my mythical journey, and I am still on a mythical journey, spiritual journey, not mythical, or mythical and spiritual. They're interchanged. I mean, we don't really know that much about Jesus, and his life, although the Bible is full of it. But hell, there was a guy, Apollonius of Tyana. You might want to look that up. And if you read about Apollonius of Tyana, like 100 years before Jesus, you would think that was Jesus also, because he could raise the dead, all that kind of stuff, that was done during Jesus' time. And he was also persecuted, the Romans hated his ass too, But anyway, so the mythical and the spiritual, I think they're really kind of intertwined. And I'm going to try to talk more focused about this. And but I think the segment in terms of my formal education, and the reason I'm saying formal is because I kept learning from these guys, and the last one was Cal until he passed away. And you will hear me mention him from time to time. But I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a focused subject and just talk about it, so you can see, did I learn something? Does it say anything to you? Or am I just full of shit? And that is entirely possible. Because, whenever I say something and I kind of believe in it, I have to immediately think, well, how certain am I? And I tell you this much, certainty is really, really hard to come by. And it's elusive. And it's mythical. All right. So this is about it. Thank you for watching, if you watched. And I will bid you farewell. So long. Auf Wiedersehen.